So, if you've been keeping up with all the headlines about autonomous AI agents, you might be getting this weird feeling, a sense of déjà vu. Today, we're going to dig into why this brand new hype feels so incredibly familiar and what a tech trend from almost 20 years ago can tell us about where this is all headed.
So, does that big promise of AI agents, that they can just figure things out all on their own, does that ring a bell? Yeah, it really should. Turns out, we've heard this song before, just with a slightly different melody. Okay, so this slide right here gets to the very heart of that déjà vu feeling. Back around 2005, the big dream of service-oriented architecture, or SOA, was that you could just expose everything as a service and the software will magically assemble itself. Fast forward to today, and the promise for autonomous agents is almost word for word the same. Just give the LLM a goal and it will figure out the steps itself. It's the exact same dream, just wrapped in new technology. But, big dreams don't always pan out in reality. The reason these two moments in tech feel so similar is because they both tripped over the exact same hurdles. So let's break down the three critical, shared flaws that really define this whole cycle of hype. All right, flaw number one, the magic bullet myth. You know the one, right? This super tempting idea that a single piece of technology can be a cure-all, that it can just, poof, fix these incredibly complex business problems. Both SOA and AI agents were sold as exactly that kind of simple, elegant solution. And this isn't just some abstract idea, you can actually map it. Both of these technologies shot straight up to what Gartner calls the peak of inflated expectations on their hype cycle. The problem was, the sales pitch completely glossed over the messy, difficult reality of orchestration. I mean, the huge amount of work it takes to get all those moving parts to actually cooperate.
And that, of course, leads us straight into our second big problem, the governance nightmare. This is what happens when you just unleash thousands of powerful new tools into your company without any rules of the road. No registry, no controls. It's basically managed chaos.
Back in the day, with SOA, they even had a name for this mess, service sprawl. Just picture it. A company creates thousands and thousands of these little software services, but there's no central phone book for them. Nobody knows who owns what each one is for, or how to use it properly. It just becomes a total mess real fast.
And here's the kicker. We are seeing the exact same thing happen all over again. We're just swapping service sprawl for agent sprawl. But the core challenge? It's identical. Before, we couldn't keep track of our services. Now, we're trying to figure out which autonomous agent is allowed to touch sensitive customer data, or, even scarier, which one has the keys to spend company money.
Look, this isn't just some hypothetical worry. The stakes are incredibly high. A staggering 74% of business leaders already see these uncontrolled AI agents as a major new security threat. That's almost 3 out of every 4 leaders saying, whoa, without some serious guardrails, this stuff is a huge risk.
Okay, so this lack of control brings us to our third and final shared flaw, the orchestration bottleneck. This is all about the massive challenge of getting all those independent little pieces, whether they're services or agents, to actually work together to get something big done.
SOA tried to solve this with a thing called the Enterprise Service Bus, or ESB. The idea was to have one central hub to manage everything. But guess what? It became this giant, fragile bottleneck where everything could grind to a halt. We're seeing a similar nightmare with agents. Multi-agent systems are already getting stuck in these infinite loops or spitting out totally bizarre results, all because there's no clear rulebook for how they should work together. So what's the bottom line here? Well, that grand vision of fully hands-off, end-to-end automation, it's just not here yet. Industry experts aren't mincing words. They've bluntly said it's still more marketing fiction than it is a practical reality.
Okay, so while the parallels are pretty striking, this isn't a perfect copy-paste situation. There is one absolutely critical difference that makes the risk with AI agents so much higher than it ever was with SOA.
And this right here is the absolute key. SOA was deterministic. It was predictable. If you sent the same input from service A to service B, you got the same output every single time. When things broke, you could trace it back and fix it. Agents? Oh, it's a whole different ballgame. They are probabilistic. They are fundamentally unpredictable. An agent might give you a brilliant solution to a problem on Monday and then hallucinate a completely nonsensical answer to the exact same problem on Tuesday. These failures aren't consistent, which makes debugging them an absolute nightmare.
So, with all these flaws and this huge extra layer of risk, where does that leave us?
Let's take a look at the path from the fantasy of full autonomy to what will likely be the functional reality. Well, if you're following the hype cycle model, that initial sugar rush of excitement is definitely wearing off. We are now sliding down into what Gartner famously calls the trough of disillusionment. This is that phase where the early buzz dies down and the cold, hard realities of actually making this stuff work start to set in.
And the numbers totally back this up. Lots of companies are running pilots, they're experimenting, but very few are actually letting fully autonomous agents run wild in their business. In fact, only about 15% have made that leap. Most are stuck in what people are calling pilot purgatory. They're dipping their toes in the water, but they're not ready to jump in.
But hey, this phase of disillusionment, it's not the end of the road. Not at all. History gives us a pretty clear roadmap. That overhyped, clunky vision of SOA, it eventually grew up and matured into the much more practical world of microservices. The same thing is probably going to happen with agents. The fantasy of autonomous agents will likely mature into the reality of augmented intelligence.
So what does augmented intelligence actually look like? Well, it means the future isn't about replacing people, it's about making them better at their jobs. The most valuable, practical systems are going to be supervised agents, where a human expert stays firmly in the loop to make the final call on anything critical, especially when it involves risk, money, or sensitive data.
So, at the end of the day, the patterns are clear. The lessons from the past are right there for us to see. The real question is, are we actually going to learn from them and build smarter, safer AI? Or are we just destined to repeat the same mistakes with technology that is way, way more powerful? Thanks for joining this explainer.